I'm going to share with you some messages from my dreams. These come to me in the form of narrated dreams, so sometimes there's a voice telling me these things. Sometimes it's written somewhere and I can read it. And I chose 3 messages for the next 3 videos, including this one, that I wanted to share with you, and we're going to think about what these messages could mean. So, if you would like a New Year's reading, they are available on my website, so make sure to check it out, link in the description. And without any further ado, let's jump in. So we are going to start with the first message that I have hidden here. And it reads, those people that don't cry, they are the same kind of people that do cry a lot. So this was a message that came to me in a dream about an ex. And there is a personal significance to this. But I chose to share it with you because I think there's also a universal message here that we can all benefit from. So, at first glance, what do you think this could mean? I'd like you to think about it. What possible interpretations can you think of? And so we are going to ask the cards to give us some guidance on what this could mean. But before we choose the card, let me just say that I had this preconception about people that have a hard time expressing their emotions, crying. Obviously, they are deeply traumatized people, and there might be some of you out there watching this video who are struggling with this problem. And I think the dream was trying to tell me that making a distinction between those people who are able to cry and those that don't or are unable to is essentially meaningless. So let's see what the cards have to say about this. And we have the 4 of Wands here. The 4 of Wands, the 4 of Fire, is the card of radical acceptance. It's acceptance of spirit, acceptance of energy, the different variations in which we human beings can manifest the universal cosmic essence. And so the pain and suffering that we all have been through, it has left a mark in all of us. It has created and formed and shaped our personalities, our idiosyncrasies, our uniqueness. And those people that don't cry, they are the same kind of people that do cry a lot. People whose hearts have been hardened and turned to stone even. they are real people. And they probably have the same level of hurt as any other sentient being. And although it can be very frustrating dealing with them, and it could be very frustrating being that person who has a hard time aligning his emotional reactions with whatever is going on within them. The bottom line is that we are here to celebrate each other. And I think this is a pretty fitting message for the holidays. So let me ask you, do you have this problem? Do you have a problem crying, expressing these difficult emotions? Perhaps due to trauma, perhaps something froze within you. Or are you on the other side of this? Are you the person crying and not understanding why others are unable to express sadness? Let me pull one card for each of us, presuming that all of you are going to fall into either category. Because the holidays, they are a tense time for many of us. And one of the, I guess, points of separation is how we express or process emotions. So let's see what the guidance is for you for this holiday season if you are unable to cry. Let's find out what the cards would like to tell you if you're a crier. Perhaps feeling abandoned in your pain, misunderstood. That could go for both categories or both groups, I guess. Okay. So, people who don't cry, your message is the Tower. People that do cry a lot, your message is the Fool. So the bottom line is that it's actually more difficult for the ones who cannot cry, although on the surface it might seem like they are more resilient or tougher or more well put together. It might seem like they have thick skin, but in reality, the Tower is indicating that they're trying to ward off the experience of complete disintegration. And I heard this from many people who I've talked to who are non-criers, that they're scared that once they start crying, they're never going to be able to stop. And this even reminds me of that episode on France where Bruce Willis was dating Jennifer Aniston. And he was a tough guy, obviously, but Jennifer was able to bring out a softer, more gentle side of him. And once the floodgates opened, he couldn't stop crying. So similarly, people who are in this position of holding back tears to the degree where it became a habit, a calcified, a solidified habit of not crying. The only way to break that barrier is to let the trauma wash over you. And you might need to be strategic about when you're letting that happen, knowing that even such a relatively harmless and natural reaction, if you stop practicing it, if you start engaging with it, there's so much pent-up energy, there's so much frustration and sadness stored inside of you that it can become a volcanic explosion once you let it go. So there's a reality to that. The tower is acknowledging that. So the guidance is try to recognize and accept that this is part of it, but this should not deter you from trying. It's just the reality of your situation, that you've become frozen and melting yourself. It takes a lot out of you, but it's not impossible. And those people that do cry a lot, your guidance is the Fool. This is to say that your ability to cry, although on the face of it might seem as a foolish, naive, simplistic way of handling your emotions, it is a true form of stability. This is number 0 of the major arcana, the absolute center, the origo, the quintessential starting point, and the fullest, most total expression of receptivity. So this is very simply saying, keep crying, keep resetting yourself to that point of impotence, ignorance, of surrendering, because every time you cry, you're surrendering your control. And by doing that, you can start 1,000 lives. You can have new lives, rebirths, every time you allow yourself to cry it out. You refresh yourself, you purify yourself. This is more flexible and more resilient in its nature, this kind of strategy of crying, than the other path where you become rigid. So criers are more successful in managing the stresses of life. They are more flexible, adaptive. But that doesn't mean that there's a difference in feeling that is underneath it all. So that's the most important message. This is a message of compassion, trying to find a common ground, accepting. For the criers, it's important to accept that since the non-criers are facing the tower, that's quite a daunting thing. It's not as easy. And for the non-criers, it's important to remember that crying, the attitude or the strategy of crying, is not a sign of weakness. It's actually a really adaptive and good strategy. So this is it. Don't forget to get your New Year's reading if you'd like to. See you tomorrow.